All right, and we're back on the air once again with our February TV update. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here on the Pop Culture Cosmos. And she's back. We wouldn't have a TV update without her. It's my good friend. You know her as the lead writer for the TVRatingsGuide.com. You also know her for great work on Jessica's show, which you can find back episodes today on Anchor. And also, as well, you find all the great stuff that she's doing, whether she's doing original creative writing at the TVRatingsGuide.com and anything else that she's doing in the world of television, her reviews, updates, and so much more as part of the whole collective at the TVRatingsGuide.com. It is my good friend. It is Miss Jessica Boggs. And Jessica, February, which you think would be kind of a slow month in television, there are actually no slow months in television.
Well, the Oscars was a big thing in television.
That it was.
For more like a negative reason, since it hit a new viewership low in the headlines. So the Oscars was down nearly 20% compared to the other award shows. It scored a 5.3 in the key demo. Not too bad, but the viewership sank to a new low of 23.6 million viewers.
Yeah, that's so harsh, you know. I know a lot of other shows that would like 23.5 million viewers. So, I mean, I understand that a lot of people are liking the fact that the Oscars, you know, the viewership is down and whatnot. But relatively speaking, think of it like in terms of the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl has, you know, so many viewers. And if it goes down, let's say 5-10% or whatnot, you're still talking about one of the largest viewing, entities of the entire year. Same thing with the Oscars as well. I mean, not many things that are put out on broadcast television these days garner even close to what the Super Bowl and also the Oscars are doing.
Well, considering that, you have currently the projected league average is going to be likely ending at around a 0.7 across the big four. And there are many excuses that say there was no host. I mean, that's really not an excuse for that, as there was no host last year, and it did not really hit a viewership low.
I just think it's coming to the point where it's not a people always talk about the political side of it or anything of that nature. I think it's just the point where people are getting tired of sitting for 3-4 hours and watching it. I think just people are wanting other things to do, and with so many different outlets and streaming services and frankly, just something else to do on Sunday nights. I mean, that's to me why broadcast television as a whole is, you know, going down in viewership, not just with the Oscars, but everything else.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at for the most part. I mean, it's not necessarily a flop in today's landscape. It's still a hit.
Exactly. I mean, next year when the Oscars, you know, goes to ABC and still goes to advertisers and whatnot, they're still going to get big money for it, because how many things on television as a whole still garner anywhere near that type of viewership or that type of rating? I mean, it's just something that I think a lot of people have to put in perspective.
I think it's similar to like American Idol too.
Yeah. I mean, just, you know, you got to look at the viewers. I look at the viewers. Yeah, the ratings, you know, when we talk about whether it's a 0.4 or 0.2, or in this case, 5.3, you know, and as far as in the correct demos and all that, that's still great. But it's also, what are they getting, you know, for the entire landscape? How many people, how many eyeballs are actually watching the program? And again, like I said, there's not many things that in life these days in the way we actually view anything on television, whether it's streaming, broadcast, cable, what have you, that could even garner close to those ratings.
And so we're moving on to the ABC as far as who was on the fence.
Oh, don't tell me the Stumptown, my Stumptown.
Well, there's a who was on the fence. So many comedies right now are on the bubble, while I think ultimately that Blackish will get the According to Jim renewal treatment. The deal may not be enough to save its spinoff, but only time will tell. We know the Good Doctor will be back. And if Good Doctor comes back, then Station 19 is definitely coming back. I mean, at those ratings, though, they're higher than both Stumptown and Emergence combined.
Oh my gosh. And I know you're going to head into it right now. So we're talking about shows right now on the fence at ABC because it's that time of the year and we have to start looking at television shows that are on the fence for getting the axe or getting renewed or whatnot. And okay, lay it on me there, Jessica.
And I think the problem is it's like one thing that I think may get the axe is Stumptown. It's now the lowest rated drama linearly on ABC since Emergence finished its season.
I know with Stumptown, you and I spoke before about the plus threes. And the reason why, it was still well thought of is because the plus threes were so high up. It was so high up on the plus threes for ABC as a whole for any programming. Is that still the case, or is that something that maybe ABC could look at and say, hey, we don't have enough viewers for Stumptown, maybe watching it, that night it airs, but there's certainly a lot of people still watching it within the first 3 days of its after it's aired.
I have yet to check, and I'm slowly doubting that it would be the case, but I could be wrong. But at this point, it looks like the linear ratings may not fully justify keeping it on a Wednesday night slot if it gets renewed.
Okay, fair enough. It'll probably be, if that's the case, renewed for a second season, put into an even worse time slot, maybe like a Sunday night or whatnot, that are just going to be putting it to doom. So it's not good news for Stumptown fans like myself, which thinks the show is pretty quality. It's pretty good. And unfortunately, that's not going to be the case if that's, for Stumptown. I'm still sad to hear about that, but hopefully maybe there'll be some type of turnaround for that show. But that's right. Oh, go ahead.
We're currently also watching For Life as it just premiered to like a 0.7 on a Tuesday night and actually grew from Blackish, surprisingly, but I'm not really sure if it's going to sustain that ratings level. I mean, all the comedies are borderline or low rated.
That's not good for ABC. I mean, they've got to go ahead and find a collective that they can go ahead and count on for getting new and garnering new ratings and a new influx of people watching their programming. So that's not a good sign for ABC. But what do you have out there on the CBS front? Because CBS, as we talked about in our previous month's conversation, was doing a lot better, was leading the way right now as far as overall the landscape and broadcast television once again. So what do you have on the queue right now for CBS and things that are maybe on the fence, or any news when it comes to the folks at CBS?
There's really not much I can say or attest to as far as who was on the fence per se, but we do know that Thursday as a whole, minus young Sheldon and maybe Mom, is somewhat troublesome. Tommy premiered with a 0.4, which is pretty low ratings, and it's currently even lower than what All Rise and the already renewed Evil have averaged. And in the spring, that might be getting the axe. Currently, the Unicorn and Carol's Second Act, the 30 comedies on Thursday, are borderline, and they are on the fence. At least one show is going to be canceled at the end of the season in May. And of course, Bob Hart's Abishola is still performing fine on a Monday.
How's that going along with Friday's numbers? I know there's some shows there with MacGyver and Magnum PI and Hawaii Five-0 as far as those numbers. What are those shows doing? I know Magnum PI was kind of in flux earlier when we've talked about it before in the past.
Oh, yes. MacGyver last week posted strong numbers for Friday, a 0.7 in today's landscape. Magnum PI, which was noticeably looking better in the past few weeks before the hiatus, was benched for Mac. And then I was wondering, how is MacGyver going to burn through all 22 episodes of its episode order on Fridays, since it just got a back 9? Assuming, for writer's strike purposes, that it'll air the next 9 episodes like next season, even though it's still considered season 4. I suspect if Tommy continues to pull really low ratings, I suspect that Magnum or The Amazing Race will return.
There you go. There you go once again, indeed. And before we head over to Fox, I have one important question to talk to you again about CBS, and that is CSI. Hold on, let me get who are you? Who. That has been talked about this week as officially getting renewal. And I'm not going to say I'm surprised, because this was 2 times the most watched television show in the world during the course of its run. And I think it just needed time to burn off. And this is something where you and I have seen where all these shows are getting rebooted and things of that nature. CSI seemed to be a natural. So I'm not exactly surprised that it is now being greenlit to go ahead and, get a reboot of some type of nature. I mean, they're already in the writing process, so it's the very beginning of it. But your thoughts on the CSI reboot? CBS has the first call as far as whether or not they want to go ahead and air it, which I'm pretty sure they would probably want to. So I want to hear your thoughts on a CSI reboot per se. I know that some of the actors like William Peterson would be involved. I know the show, from my memory, ended on a note where you could probably, and I'm going to just throw this out there to the writers out there, you could probably base it, or at least start it, in San Diego, because if you bring George Eads back, I know he's always trouble on the set, but if you bring George Eads back, he was heading the CSI group in San Diego, so that could tie in overall with what everybody is talking about as far as maybe a CSI reboot, and that could go from there.
Well, you have I did write a Do Not Resuscitate article on CSI, and
No. You do resuscitate CSI. Bring that patient back to life. My goodness.
I mean, honestly, I feel like it might not do as well as it could especially in today's landscape, especially since there is an oversaturation of police procedural dramas on CBS. Why do we need another one?
Well, I wouldn't say CBS per se, because you're right. I mean, in fact, I was joking with my wife yesterday. I was saying, oh, so which one are you watching today? NCIS, NCIS Los Angeles, FBI the Most Wanted. I was running off the list of major armed forces there that, the shows that are related to it.
And SEAL Team.
Yes, of course, SEAL Team, our favorite. And, not my favorite, but I was joking when I said that, if you heard one of our past episodes. But I want to say this when it comes to CSI. There's also something you have to consider, which, again, you might not have put in that article of yours that's now available on the TVRatingsGuide.com as far as Do Not Resuscitate. I would resuscitate it because of the fact also as well, if you don't put it on CBS, I'm not saying CBS All Access, but you got to remember as well, the news came out last week that Viacom is now considering making a mega streaming channel with all of its entities together and making it beyond what CBS All Access is doing. So let's say CBS All Access folds into what the other Viacom holder properties, I think Nickelodeon and some others, all the MTV, all that stuff, all that together into one major property. And if that's the case, headed off by a CSI show per se on that streaming outlet could be a nice getter for them and a nice way to kick things off.
I think it could be, but I'm not really 100% sure on that because, I mean, it's probably not going to have like all of the original cast back.
All you need is 2 or 3. All you need is 2 or 3. I think that you'd be fine. William Peterson, peeking his head in every now and then, because I know he really probably doesn't want to do as much as he's still getting huge residuals off that show because the show is being played still all over the place. So.
Yeah, on USA, it was on USA, and then you had like Oxygen, Ion, Sci-Fi.
Yeah,
with airing in syndication.
Exactly, and it's still being played all around the world, I would imagine. So yeah, I mean, it's not like he's hurting for cash or anything. So he would be poking his head in just because he wants to see the show's success. And I know they were talking to him about reappearing on such an entity. But I'm just throwing out there CSI San Diego. I think that would be something interesting, a little dynamic change. Something I think would be, you could still tie it into CSI Las Vegas and things of that nature. So I don't know, throwing it out there, maybe a CSI coming back, something I would like to see. I know Jessica says no. I say yes. We want to hear your thoughts. Yes or no on a new CSI. Share us your thoughts. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com, or also as well Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanity Media, and Game Source on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. Well, Jessica, we now return to our previously scheduled programming, and that was with Fox. You like that TV tie-in? Like it. Fox right now has got a lot to go on. It's doing very well with The Masked Singer once again, but I want to hear your thoughts with what's going on at Fox.
Well, Lego Masters apparently did better than Flirty Dancing. I'm
going to put my Legos together. I'm going to go ahead and become a master builder. I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. Go ahead while you're talking.
Well, with Fox, like overall, there's really not much you can say with who's getting the boot or who's getting the axe because of the limited real estate. I mean, I said before, Outmatched is only retaining okay after a down last man standing, like 0.5 out of a 0.7, but Fox only has limited real estate on comedies. That may get the axe. Deputy is definitely getting the axe, as I can tell. And then Almost Family got sent to Saturdays and will air its final episode on the 22nd of this month. Last month, it and Flirty Dancing were pulled from Wednesdays after both shows garnered catastrophically low ratings. And with 3 other dramas on the bench, it is unclear who was on the fence as of right now. But as we get into March or April, it will be more clear.
Fox overall, I think, is doing pretty good. I think they have, in the past couple of years, really formatted some change, and I think it's been for the better for the most part. I think always their outlook right now at this point in time is going up, and I'm happy to see with Fox there's a lot of good things that people want to turn towards to outside of The Simpsons, of course, and that's something I think a lot of people need to understand, and hopefully a lot of people are going over Fox for some good things. And I know people are always talking about who is that Masked Singer. So NBC is something out there that I think we haven't talked about too much lately. It's still very highly rated, not quite at the level of CBS yet, but then again, they've got the Olympics on the coming up in the distance, so obviously they're going to earn big ratings from that. But I want to hear what they're doing now. I want to hear what they're doing now at NBC.
NBC has 2 shows potentially getting the axe. That would be Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist after low preview ratings, as well as Friday show Lincoln Rhyme. Superstore, to no one's surprise, was renewed this past week.
Yay!
It's going to join Brooklyn Nine-Nine for next season.
Yay!
Indebted, however, got low ratings too, so it's going to probably be, with spring comedies, it depends on whether they get renewed for like a second chance or move to Peacock, the streaming service.
Exactly. What a name. All right. Always love that name. But Manifest is a show that came out to big hype originally. And I've told you before, as soon as I watched the concept and watched the pilot episode for like 50 minutes, I'm like, I can't get into this. And it looks like a lot of people are starting to jump off that plane, so to speak. So tell me what's going on with Manifest.
Manifest in today's landscape is doing okay, but it's currently on the fence with its 0.6s. I mean, well, not as low rated as the other two shows that I mentioned that were getting the axe, but zero point 0.6 is the limit that it should stay for renewal. Only time will tell.
I'm telling you, it's getting kind of dicey there, though. Sounds like for Manifest and some of the other shows on NBC, but overall, I still think they have positive numbers, and I still think that again they're pointing towards the Olympics to go ahead and garner big ratings and boost their shows overall for the rest of the year. All right, Jessica, you cannot escape your monthly TV report without a look at your friends. I don't necessarily not my friends, but your friends at the CW. The Crisis of Infinite Earths was a big hit for them overall. I want to say it's a great positive because people are still talking about it. There are entities out there like IGN, GameSpot, some other entities out there that are still talking about the residuals of that series. So I want to hear your thoughts on what's going on with CW now that the dust has settled on these television shows going forward, and not only necessarily the ones that are DC related, but also the ones that are on the network that are not. So I want to hear your thoughts on CW at this point in time.
I think all those shows have gotten back to their normal ratings. I mean, it didn't really last long. I mean, after the Super Bowl, Batwoman hit a new low of a 0.1. That's crazy. From a 0.6 all the way to 0.5 or 0.6 all the way to a 0.1, and it still gets renewed. But then again, it was preempted, so it's going to go back up to like a 0.2 or 0.3 by in the next couple of weeks. Let's just hope it's a one-off.
Let's just hope it's a one-off indeed. All right, my friend, a couple last things before we head on out, and that is on cable. And before we hit to our monthly report on the wrestling scene, anything of note in cable that you want to talk about before we head on out?
68 Whiskey, I gotta tell you. As soon as it premiered okay, and now it's not doing as well as it should be. I gotta say.
Well, I gotta say that too. I'm sorry to hear that that's the case, but you know, with cable, it's always fluctuating. Is there anything else on cable that is of note right at this point in time?
Freeform. It's always in freeform.
Oh my gosh!
And in freeform. Well, every show is below. Almost every show was hitting below a 0.1 in the rounded ratings. I just saw that Party of Five, the reboot, the latest episode got a 0.08 and 219,000 in total viewers. Let's just hope the non-linear ratings are better, because Freeform as a whole is doing terrible.
I'm telling you, this lasted much longer than I thought. I thought by now Disney would have pulled the plug already on Freeform. I'm very surprised it's still in existence. I mean, like you said, the ratings for their shows are minuscule. I mean, it's getting to the point where it's almost getting into, you know, not like it can, but if any shows were getting into the negative rating, I'd start right there with that network shows. I mean, getting to the point where the only people that are watching it are named Nielsen. So it's getting to the point where it's that bad for those folks at Freeform. But before we head on out, I want to ask.
Let's move it to Disney Plus.
Yeah, Disney Plus. They'd be great on Disney Plus. They get a lot more exposure. All the Freeform stuff going there. Obviously, it wouldn't be such a. I mean, there must be some reason why it's still. I mean, when they talk about it in their share earnings, they don't talk about it very much as far as with the shareholders and whatnot. But you know, the advertising dollars can't be that great from a network like that. Move everything over to maybe FX or something different. Disney Plus, you may have had a great idea right there. It would obviously get a lot more exposure if that's the case, because Disney Plus is starving for new content at this point in time, now that the newness and new car smell has worn off on Disney Plus. There's a definite need, as Josh and I have talked about on our show recently, that it is in dire need of programming, and the freeform programming would fit right in. So that's something I'm kind of disappointed that Disney hasn't executed as of yet. But you know what? There's still time, and hopefully they'll go ahead and make the right decisions when it comes to freeform and Disney Plus down the road. But before we head on out, ding, 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 that bell is sounded. It is time once again for your monthly report and catch up on the wrestling scene when it comes to the continuous battle on Wednesday nights with AEW and NXT. AEW is averaging just under 1 million viewers, so it has the distinctive hand right now against NXT. But I want to hear your thoughts on what's going on with the whole wrestling scene right now in the ratings.
I think the ratings just came out, and as you can see, NXT has gone up to 0.24, while AEW right now is cooled down to a 0.3. In the viewership, it looks like NXT is nipping at its heels within 60,000 viewers of it, within around 60,000 viewers of AEW.
And I know the demo is a key as far as one having a better demo within the 18 to 49 demo, while the other skews to an older market.
But yeah, NXT is slowly garnering to like an older market, whereas AEW may have been doing better at a younger market at first, but now it looks like it's skewed somewhat older or fairly younger than NXT was doing.
Oh, that's interesting. And that's it, for the long term, that Wednesday battle still continues. But again, it's going to be stable for some time because TNT has renewed AEW for at least the next 2 years at this point in time. So there's good news there for fans because the quality of television for wrestling will continue to go up if that's the case. I want to hear your thoughts, though, before we head on out on Monday Night Raw and also SmackDown, how they're doing. I know there was a recent debut of an NXT superstar on Raw that has caused quite a stir and possibly an uptick in the ratings.
Oh, yes. The debut of Shayna Baszler, an former NXT Women's Champion,
Still
debuted
not
on
as good as Asuka. Asuka's my favorite. Sorry.
debuted on Raw this week, and WWE is apparently setting up for a feud with current Raw Women's Champion Becky Lynch, and that got a rating surge.
Well, obviously, and if that's the case, she's going to get the major push and the major fight with Becky Lynch. Sorry, Asuka. You just have to stick to the tag team titles for you right now with Kairi Sane. And I will say this. Kairi Sane, I'm sorry. And then I will tell you this. It looks like the two are going to have a matchup at WrestleMania. Where it lies on the card is still yet to be seen, but that's a good sign if there's a rating surge. There is an interest in Shayna Baszler. They brought her along slowly, as the champion for many, many months in NXT, and they're doing the same thing with her that they did with Asuka. I mean, Asuka held the title for an extended period of time at the NXT, and then they brought her up, and initially there was a burst of fans interested into it. They didn't exactly end up pushing her in the right way. Ultimately, there could have been a situation where you had her undefeated going into a WrestleMania with Ronda Rousey and did quite execute on that. I thought that was very bad on their part. Do you see the same thing happening with Shayna Baszler, and as far as giving her that type of long-term push that will keep fans tuning in, or do you see them messing it up like they have with so many individuals from the past?
I think honestly, it's too soon to tell, but I feel like after WrestleMania, this is going to end up badly. After that, I think.
Jeez, you sound like most pro wrestling fans out there, huh?
And then, but
wonder why they've lost so many viewers, millions of viewers over the past 5 years. People you wouldn't, how could you imagine?
but at least SmackDown right now is stable at the moment. But
It's good news.
there's not as much action going on with SmackDown at the moment.
Yeah, I know. They're also got to be gearing up after their major card next in Saudi Arabia. They're going to have to go ahead and put into overdrive the drive towards the drive towards WrestleMania. I'm assuming the Fiend is going to go ahead and continue his reign after Saudi Arabia, and is going to be ending up as part of the one of the top cards and top matches. One of the top matches on the card at WrestleMania. So it's just trying to find a challenger that intrigues people enough to go ahead and say, "Hey, I want to watch WrestleMania for it." So we'll have to wait and see where that is. And plus, also as well, the recent numbers that was reported by the WWE. Numbers going down across the board, which isn't a good sign for them. Their stock went down, dramatically over the course of the past week, and they're talked about revamping the network. So those individuals that were paying $9.99 a month, watching and getting everything, all the entire library, and also the major pay-per-views for that price, may be in line for, unfortunately, something different. So I see something dramatically happening on that front. That could be a bad sign for them continuously if that's the case. And because almost 1.5 million viewers that the network has is going to be something that they might be getting it different. It might be coming different if they go ahead and change around their actual platform for the WWE network. But we'll wait and see. But that's good signs that at least SmackDown is stable. That means that if they go ahead and have a nice drive towards WrestleMania come March, that they'll go ahead and boost those ratings, and hopefully they'll go ahead over the course of summer and continue some good things down the road.
Yeah, that's at around like 2 million. Raw is almost at 3 million.
That's a good sign. For them, absolutely. At this point in time, anything close to 3 million is definitely a good sign indeed. Once again, it's my good friend Jessica Boggs. You got to check out what she's doing today at the TVRatingsGuide.com. So I ask you before we head on out, my friend, what are some of the good things you got going on as far as, your show is on hiatus right now as far as Jessica's show. That's going to come back in the future. But what do you have going on right now at the TVRatingsGuide.com?
Well, we got tonight's episode of Writer's Block is in the pipeline. And we also have regular episodes of Network as well as other TVRGO shows like Marietta, Our House, Bake Your Heart Out, all the TVRGO programming from Numb Humor Studios. All of these original programming that you'll get to read the scripts on TVRatingsGuide.com. Plus, we are working on some TVRGO site originals. But we also have some Renew Cancel updates, and we also are working on the historical ratings and a snapshot of each show. Currently, we are working on the snapshots for Mom as far as like the ratings and the plot points and everything else.
Once again, that's at TVRatingsGuide.com. You can check out all the things that are going on today, including an update on Stumptown, which I hope will turn for the better, hopefully sometime soon. I'm hoping. And all the other great shows that are on the fence and everything else you can go ahead and check out, including why she does not want CSI Resuscitated and she wants it to stay dead, which I disagree with, but you can check it out today at the TVRatingsGuide.com.
That was literally written like 2 years ago.
Well, I tell you what, you can still find it there. Just type it up in the search right there at the TVRatingsGuide.com. I disagree with you on that, but again, I want to hear everyone's thoughts out there. Just let the TVRatingsGuide.com, you go ahead and share your comments there, or also right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. Well, my friend, it's been great having you on here. Cannot wait for your update in March. Any last thoughts on the way out?
Let's hope any more shows that are on the fence. Hopefully, we have some obvious renewals. Let's save the obvious cancellations for May.
There you go. Let's save it for May indeed. Once again, it's my good friend Jessica Boggs. You got to check out what she's doing today at the tvratingsguide.com. Okay, Jess, great having you on the show once again. I cannot thank you enough for stopping by right here on the Pop Culture Cosmos.